An assertion in PyTest allows us to use the standard Python assert. The purpose is to verify if our test passed or failed. If the assertion failed, then we will see the return value from the test function. What you will learn in this session is three things: syntax of the assert statement, assertion error exception, and the difference between hard assert and soft assert. In the IDE, let's start by creating a package by right-clicking the project pytest tutorials, new Python package. Name is demo pytest. Now let's create a new file by right-clicking the package demo pytest, new Python file. Name is test underscore assertions underscore hard. Now that we have the package and the file, let's go ahead and walk through the test script on this Selenium playground page from LambdaTest. At the bottom, there are radio buttons for gender and age group. The script will click one of these radio buttons for gender and one of these radio buttons for age group. After clicking the radio buttons, then it will click the Get Values button. Last, the assert statement verifies if gender and age group have the correct values. Also, let's verify if the title, Selenium Grid Online, run Selenium Test on Cloud, is correct. Let's inspect the male radio button, and it does not have an ID attribute with the input tag. If we find it using the value attribute, then it will return 2 elements because there is another male radio button on this page. Here's one male radio button, and here's the other male radio button. Therefore, let's inspect the male radio button we need by first inspecting and finding gender, because the other one does not have gender. Inspect gender, and it has an H4 tag. Cool. So within this tag, the value is gender space colon space. I'm going to find it just by using gender. 2 forward slashes, H4 is the tag name. Within the tag name, we write the square brackets. Well, after the tag name, we write the square brackets. Now within the square brackets, that's when we add contains, parentheses, text within the parentheses. After text, more parentheses, followed by a comma, then single quotes, then the name we need, which is gender. Now we found the gender. 2 forward slashes, and we're going to add following, 2 colons, input, at value, which is the attribute name, equals male. Bingo, we found the element and it shows 1 of 1. Let me copy this value. Let me also show you what would have happened if we tried to find it with just input male. Because I said it would have showed 2, and now we see that it shows 1 of 2. That's why it's best to find gender first. Let's go to the IDE, and in the IDE, that's when we're going to create our test script. From Selenium, import WebDriver. Also from Selenium, let's dot operator WebDriver dot common dot by. and we will import the by class. Also, we're going to create a class called Assertions Test. Now this class is not needed, but I'm adding it for reference because we are testing assertions. Pass is just to show that it's empty. At this point, let's define the function name, which is test underscore LambdaTest underscore radio underscore button underscore demo. How about we add value? Now, this is the function name and the function signature. Let's create an instance of driver equal to WebDriver.Chrome because we will use the Chrome browser. Also, I like to maximize the window. Driver.Get loads the AUT, but I will come back to get the AUT URL. Let's find the element, which is the radio button for gender. And by XPath, let's insert a new line to contain the value because it will be long. Yes. Insert another line before the double forward slashes. The action we need is click. Next is to click the age group. Let's follow the same process and inspect 15 to 50. We can use the value attribute. However, let's use the same process when we located gender. Inspect age group instead. It has an H4 tag. So let's just replace this information that we wrote for the male gender. Replace gender with group and replace value with 15 to 50. That's the attribute value. Bingo, we found the element. Okay, so just like the last time, I could copy and, well, I was about to say copy and paste. Driver.findElement by XPath. And let's place this on the next line. And I'm going to paste. Also, insert lines before the two forward slashes. The action we need is just like the previous one, which is dot click. At this point, we click the button. Go back, inspect the get values button, and it has a tag, a button. Let's write two forward slashes, button, text, and the text was get values. That's what we see on the UI. Get values, bingo. Let's also copy this path. We find it by writing driver.findElement by XPath, and I'm going to paste in the value, and that's not too long, but let's still go ahead and place it on the next line. Dot click. Cool. Now we get the gender and we get the age group values. Go back and inspect female. And it's located in a span tag with the class value of gender button. It's only one attribute, which is class. The shortcut for class is dot. For the class, then we write gender button. That's the value. I'm going to copy And we find this using CSS selector. Driver, and put gender equals driver. Dot find element by CSS selector. On the next line, I'm going to paste. And Selenium provides text as a way to get the text from the user interface. Next, after gender, we inspect the age group. And it has a span tag also, with only one class attribute. Let me copy group radio button, replace gender button, and we found the element. Copy the value, go back to the AUT, the IDE, and write age underscore group driver dot find element by CSS selector. And I'm going to paste the value dot text. When it comes to the syntax of an assert statement, it consists of two required parts and one optional part. The two required parts include an assert keyword and the condition that will be tested. For our example, condition is gender. Is male. That's the radio button we're clicking at this point here. That's the male radio button. And the condition is verifying if gender equals male. The optional part is a message that will only show up if the assert fails. Let's write gender is not correct. When it comes to assert statements, they are all Boolean expressions that check if the condition returns true or false. If the condition returns true, then it will add nothing. Our program returns nothing and moves to the next code line. Let me say that again just in case I messed up. If the condition evaluates to true, then our program does nothing and moves to the next code line. However, if the condition evaluates to false, then our program stops and throws an exception. In the terminal, let's change the directory to demo pytest because that is the package. And when I change to demo pytest, it says cannot find. Oh, okay, I'm already on pytest. I apologize. So I'm on pytest right now. So let's go back right quick. Yes. Yes, I want to make sure I did this correct. Now that we own the directory of demo pytest, I'm going to run the test by writing pytest. Gotta spell it right, -v, and V is for verbose. RA, let's run. The short test summary shows that it failed, but it should pass. So let's investigate on why it failed and see what I did wrong. And once I investigate, it shows 10. That's the line that has an error. And line 10 does not have the URL. I apologize. Let's go back and copy the URL. That's a, okay. And let's make sure everything else looks correct. Yes, so I'm gonna run it one more time. That's right. The short test summary info section shows pass. Okay, so this time let's make the test fail by writing gender is male. This time in the terminal, it should return failed. Yes, we see failed. An assertion error exception shows up when the condition evaluates to be false. When it evaluates to be false, that's when the assertion raises an error. We see an assertion error exception because it is a built-in exception that inherits from the exception class. We see the complete exception assertion that shows assertion error, gender is not correct. Assert male is male. They have the same value, which is male, because each value has a different object. That's why they fail. Now, when it comes to a different object, the value is the same, but the object is different. Because the word is a reserved word that tests if two variables refer to the same object. Is refers to the same object. So let's print the object values for gender and for male, which we are trying to compare it to. So before the assert statement, we write print. Gender is, how about gender object, colon, and I'm going to just tab over and then write ID, then pass in gender. Copy, paste, and I'm going to change gender to male object. Then pass in male. This is to show you what we will get back in the terminal. If I hover ID, we see it returns the identity of an object. This is guaranteed to be unique. So when I run, watch what the terminal shows us. This time, the terminal shows a male object and gender object with different object values. One of them ends with 4624 and the other one ends with 4592. They both are unique and they are different. That means they are pointing to a different object. They are not the same since they're pointing to a different object. That's why the test failed, although they have the same value of male. Gender is not correct. Let's go ahead and add the other two assert statements for checking the title and also checking the age group. For title, let's assert that driver.title contains Selenium grid online. The third assert is 51 in age group. Let's also add a message that says age group is not correct. The first assert made the test fail the last time, and it's going to fail this time. When it comes to the second assert is correct because the title includes Selenium Grid Online. The third assert is not correct. It should return false, and it failed because 51 is not in the age group of 15 to 50. Let's go to the terminal and run. Yes, The test failed as expected. However, notice we do not see the second failed assertion for age group. 51 is not in the age group of 15 to 50, but the execution stopped after the first assertion. We see assertion error, gender is not correct, assert male is male, but do not see the one for age group. That is the difference between hard assert and soft assert. A hard assert stops execution after a failure, but a soft assert continues execution after a failure. It is best to use a hard assertion if there is only one result to verify in the same test function. If there is more than one test to verify, if there's more than one result to verify in the same test function, then it is best to use a soft assertion. The key is how many assert statements are located in your test. One assert or more than one assert. Now, let's go to this website so we can see how to implement soft assert. The website is pytest.org/project/soft test. We see this package supports the soft assert style of testing, where multiple assertions can fail within the same method, and we consider it test function. Now, the key is when it shows multiple assertions can fail. That's why we use soft assertion. If I scroll down the page, it shows how we can implement soft tests. Scroll back up right quick, and we see how it extends the unit test.test case class. Unit test is a different type of test framework from pytest. However, both frameworks are for Python. If I go to pytest website, we see the header says how to use unit test base tests with pytest. Pytest supports running Python unit test base tests out of the box. So pytest supports unit tests. And since pytest supports unit tests, let's install soft test. Go to the terminal, and we're going to paste pip install soft test. And I already have soft test, but I want to just show you the command because we see it says requirement already satisfied. Let me uninstall it right quick, just in case you want to see the thing from beginning to end. And now I'm going to paste again, and you will see how it's going to show installed successfully when it finishes. You see how it shows successfully installed soft test 1.2.0.0. Now, in the file, I'm going to create a new file. Right click, demo pytest, new Python file, and write test_assertions_soft. And let me paste the same information. However, we will replace the hard assert with soft assert. The first step is to import soft test. And within the class parenthesis, let's add soft test dot test case. Now, when it comes to each function, it must include the self parameter. And for this soft part, let's indent the function. Other way it would not work. You see how the name changed self from gray to purple? That's why I indent the function. There we go. Now, the purpose of self is to represent the instance of the class. With that representation, we can access the attributes and methods of the class. For this test function, test LambdaTest, radio button, demo value, I am going to replace all three of these hard assert statements with soft assert. And the statements are going to have the same type of comparison: is, contains, and in. So for the first one, let's write self.soft assert. Within the parentheses, let's write self.assert is. And within that part, I'm going to write, let's add this to the next line, because I want to make room. I really want to make room so we can have everything on this one page. Okay, so now what we're going to compare is male is the same as gender. Now we know it's going to fail, but we're just comparing the same information. Gender is not correct, is the message. So let me now erase the hard assertion. Now for containing, we're going to write self.soft assert, and within that we write self.assert true. And after assert true, I'm going to write driver.title. Let me also add this to the next line. I really want to continue making room, so the writing is big. Driver.title contains, copy and paste Selenium grid on line, and that is not contains, that's count. So let me just start that over, because it should be 2 underscores before contains and 2 underscores after contains. Now paste the value, bingo. The last one, we're going to use self.soft assert. And for that part, let's write self.assert in. Now we're going to make sure 51 is in, comma, age group. That's all we need. Let's also add the message of age group is not correct. Now we have those 3 assert statements replaced with soft assert. There's one more concept when it comes to soft assert. And when dealing with soft assert, we must always include self.assert underscore all. Always include it at the end of each test function. If not, then the test will pass every time, although we know the test should fail. For example, I'm going to show you by commenting out the assert all statement, going to the terminal, and we're going to run the test again. You know what? Let me run it for that particular soft assert file. Well, I don't have to. It shows right here anyway. I'm going to run it for that particular file, but it shows that it passed. And we know that it should not pass. So let me go back and now remove the comment. And you see how it's supposed to run when we include assert all. Bingo. This time we see failed for TestAssertions.𝐸 because it's supposed to fail because it's not correct. Now, if I scroll up, we see how it looks in the console. We see failure 2 and we see failure 1. And if you wanted to, I will show you one more thing right quick when it comes to assert all. If you wanted to, you can also add a statement. For instance, verify gender, title, and how about age group? If you wanted to add a message to your assert all, we can do that. Now, when it comes to that part, we see that in the console, in the terminal, it shows the difference between hard assert and soft assert. If I scroll up, we see the failures. Failure 1 shows, yes, it shows the information we need. It shows the assertion error. Male is not male. Gender is not correct. That's the first failure. For failure 2, the assertion error, it shows 51 not found in 15 to 50. Age group is not correct. And that's what we expect it to show both failures, because a soft assert is needed when you're verifying more than one result in the same test. Let me run it right quick with this assert all so you can see how it looks when you add that information. Okay, so we see the same information, assertion error for the second failure, assertion error for the first failure. However, look what it shows when we add that string to assert all. Verify gender, title, and age group. It shows that whenever we have a failure, and that's the difference between a hard assert and a soft assert. The hard assert stops running after the first failure, but the soft assert continues running after the first failure. That's it for assertions in PyTest. Next, we're going to run more than one test and subset of all test scripts. If you would like to learn more, then make sure to follow the blogs at www.LambdaTest.com/blog and community.LambdaTest.com. In addition to the blogs, you can earn a certification at www.LambdaTest.com/certifications. Get educated, get recognized.